Hi there, my name is Mrs. Ehlke and welcome to Ehlke Art. Today I'm going to show you a couple different projects that you could do with paper folding, and then I will give you step-by-step instructions on how to make a fish. So here's an example of this fun fish. I've actually got two of them that you can make just by cutting and folding some paper. Aren't they adorable? You can use a similar technique to make lizards as well, and I have another video that if you would like to see step-by-step how to make a lizard, you could do that. For our project today, we will be using a couple different supplies. The first thing is I'll be using a large piece. This is a 12 by 18 piece of blue paper. It really doesn't matter what color, just whatever color you want your fish to be. I'll also be using a smaller piece. This is a regular size 9 by 12 piece of construction paper. The colors could match or they could be different. I'll be using a little bit of white paper for the eyes. I have some scissors I'll be using to cut the paper, and of course some glue to glue the pieces together. You could use stick glue or you could use liquid glue. It doesn't really matter. And then you may want some markers or crayons or something to use to add some decorations to the fish. Maybe you want to add some scales or some spots or some stripes, and I'll show you how to do that as well. So let's get started. The first thing that we will be working with is our large piece of paper. And I'm going to start by taking one corner and folding it in a diagonal line to the other side of the paper. So I start like this, and then I fold it diagonally to the other side of the paper. I make sure that both of these edges are lined up just right, so I have a nice solid point. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a crease like this to make this triangle. So I folded the top corner over to make a triangle, just like that. Then I'm going to take my scissors and cut off the extra paper. So I'm going to go ahead and cut right along this line to get rid of that extra paper. Like so. So now I just have my triangle. Now if any point during this video you need to stop because I'm going too fast, please push that pause button and then wait until you catch up with me. So now I have this triangle looking good. I'm going to go ahead and open it up, and you can see I have this nice line right down the middle of my triangle. I want to take this edge and fold it in so that it matches up with that center line. If you've ever made a paper airplane, this is actually really similar to like a paper airplane type fold. So I want my paper to line up with the inside edge, just like this. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I want to fold this in so that the edges meet up like so. And make sure I get a nice crease there. All right, now I'm going to turn this over, and this is going to be the top part of my fish. So if you wanted to add decorations with marker, this would be the time to do it. So maybe I want to add some circles or some stripes or some zigzags. You can get creative. Maybe I want my fish to have some spots. So I'll draw a couple spots on the back of my fish. It's whatever you would like to do. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll get on to the next step. So you can see I've added some circles and some wiggly lines to the back part of my fish. I stopped a little bit before I got to the main head. This is where the head is going to be because the eyes are going to be there, and so I just left these for the back. This would be a great time too if you're working on symmetry to make both sides symmetrical so that they're matching on both sides. So you can try that out with your design. All right, now that I have my design there, I'm gonna go ahead and open my triangle or my folding back up. And this time I'm gonna fold it right along my center line. So I'm just gonna fold my paper in half like that. And now I'm going to cut my paper. So I'm gonna hold it up like this so you can see. And I only wanna cut on lines that go up and down like this. And they're gonna stop right when they get to this diagonal line. So I'll show you. I'm gonna cut and then stop. Cut, stop, cut, stop, cut, stop. If you go a tiny bit past your diagonal line, that is okay. But you do wanna make sure to get all the way there because it'll make it so that the fish bends and folds easier. So you can see each strip is like about a finger width, maybe a little bit wider apart. This doesn't matter too much either. If you want yours to be super skinny strips, they can be super skinny. If you want them to be super fat, they can be super fat. All right, and I'm gonna stop right there. So notice I did not cut this edge right here. I stopped before I got to that end, okay? So I have all these little finger cuttings right here. The rest of my fish is good. Now when I open it up, you can see I've got all these little slits that go down my fish, okay? So the next step is to glue. And I'm gonna glue these two flaps together, one on top of the other. So I'm gonna fold this one in, and then this one's gonna go right on top of that. Did you see how I did that? So I'm gonna pull one into the middle, and then the other one's gonna go right over it. Okay, so I'm gonna put glue just on one side. I've got my stick glue. I'm gonna throw that on one side of my fish. On the inside, I'm trying to get a good amount of glue. And so this side here has glue on it now. I'm gonna go ahead and fold this in and then stick it to that side. And it's kind of hard to stick. Sometimes you might have to actually stick your fingers in between to get that piece to really stay down. All right, so now you can see we've got this shape, the main shape of the fish, okay? And because of our cuts going all the way to the bottom, you can see that it's very flexible. It moves now. It curves and bends, which is kind of a fun part of it. Now we're gonna add some details to our fish. So I'm gonna take my scissors first, and I don't want my fish to be quite this pointy. If you are okay with a pointy fish, that works. Like maybe if you wanted to do a shark or something, you could leave the point there. But I just wanna take my scissors and I'm gonna trim the front edge of my fish so it's not quite as pointy. I want it to be a little bit more curved like that. Okay, then I need a bottom mouth to my fish because right now it doesn't look like it has a bottom part to his mouth. So I'm gonna take my extra paper that I cut off of the triangle, and I'm gonna measure to see where a mouth would go by holding it up and then making a little mark with my pencil about where the width of the mouth is. And then if you need to, you can just make like a U shape here to trace and to cut. So I've got my little mark. I'm gonna go ahead and cut a U shape out, starting with my mark like this, and then cutting like that to make it nice and wide. So now I've got this, and I'm gonna go ahead and glue it right inside the fish's mouth like that. So I'll just take a little strip of glue and just put it right on the bottom of my U shape here. And then I'm gonna attach it to the mouth, the bottom part of the mouth of my fish. So now he's got his little mouth bottom attached, so it looks a lot more like a fish, okay? Now I'm gonna leave that, and I'm gonna start cutting out some other important things. So I've got a piece of paper that I folded in half, and I'm gonna cut a circle in the corner of the paper. If you need to trace something like maybe a quarter would be a good size for the eyes, you could do that. Since my paper was cut in half, I have 2 eyes now that are the same size. I'm going to go ahead and glue those on either side of the fish with my glue. So I'm going to go ahead and throw some glue on the back of my eye, and I'm attaching it just to the side of the head, like so. I'm going to do that on the other side. Take my glue and glue that to the other side of my head of my fish right here. So now you can see he's got the 2 whites for his eyes. And then I'm going to make some fins for my fish with my dark blue paper. I'm going to start off in the corner of my paper, and I'm going to make a giant M. So 1, 2, kind of like you do those little birds, the distant birds that are flying away. You make that kind of M shape. Helps if you make the sound effects. So this is going to be the tail fin of my fish, and I'm going to go ahead and glue it just like this so that I can stick that on the bottom of my fish to give it a little tail. And then for my fins, I'm going to take some of my paper and fold it just a little bit, and I'm going to cut out a fin shape by making basically like a giant leaf looking shape. So I'm going to go down and then back up again. So it looks kind of like a leaf. And because I folded it, I have 2 that match. And so those are going to go on the bottom of my fish. So here's my fish. I'm just going to stick one right here and one right there. So I'm going to go ahead and glue those, and then we'll show you how we add on the eyes of the fish. Now these fish are pretty cartoony. If you wanted to make them a little bit less cartoony, you could probably make your eyes a little bit smaller, but I kind of like the cartoony look. So I went giant with my eyes. My fins, you fins could really be giant too if you wanted. It doesn't really matter. I'm adding in my tail fin and my side fins with my glue so that they are all glued on like that. So you can see the tail fins at the bottom and these 2 fins are on the side, so that when you turn it this way, you see the fins are attached onto the fish. Pretty cute. All right. The only other thing I'm going to do with my fish is add some eyeballs. Now you could do this with paper, or you could just do this with a marker. So I have a marker right here. I'm just going to go ahead and make little dots in the center of my whites so that it looks like the fish has a little eyeball like that. Go ahead and do that on the other side. Like that. Now this is the basic fish shape. Isn't it adorable? Now things that you could add little white teeth coming down if you wanted maybe a shark looking fish, or you could add a top fin somehow by maybe gluing one to one of these little pieces up here. You could add more decorations, more details. You could put something inside the fish's mouth. Maybe he just ate another little fish and you could have him poking out. So get creative with this. There's a lot of fun opportunities with this project, all right? Thank you guys so much for watching. And like I said, check out my lizard video because the lizards are super fun to make as well. The technique's a little bit different, but similar enough where if you can do this one, you can probably do that one too, okay? Subscribe down below, hit that like button, and we hope to see you again soon. Bye guys.